Hello scholars, my name is Dr. Karis Dillon, and the goal of this channel is to make academic subjects easier to understand. In the last video we covered social psychology. In this video we're going to look at industrial and organizational psychology. So let's begin. In the United States, people spend on average 40 to 55 hours working per week. This is about the same that they spend sleeping. These two items alone account for a majority of people's lives. Industrial and organizational psychology is the study of how humans are impacted by their work and how they in turn impact where they work. Industrial and organizational psychology has 4 different sections: government, firms, businesses, and academia. For those individuals that earn a degree in industrial and organizational psychology, they generally will focus in one of 3 areas: industrial, organizational, or relating to human beings. The job of an industrial psychologist is to write appropriate job descriptions and requirements. They also work to assess whether or not a worker has the requirements for a certain job. These psychologists work to train, evaluate, and work with employees on those evaluations. Lastly, an individual psychologist needs to make sure that they never discriminate against anyone in the hiring process. Organizational psychology examines the relationships of coworkers and how this impacts the overall business. They investigate employee satisfaction, how to motivate workers, and employees' commitment to work. Organizational psychologists set up management, leadership positions and are in control of the organizational culture of the business. They study the social norms of the business and how this influences role expectations concerning employee behavior. They are usually in charge of sexual harassment issues as well as preventing workplace violence. Psychologists that deal directly with the employee and factors concerning human beings are concerned with motivation, productivity, individual health, as well as the safety of the employees. This can consist of everything from desks to chairs to workspace to lifting belts to maintain the strength of the workers' backs. In other countries, this type of psychology is known as ergonomics. An occupational health psychologist examines various disorders, diseases, or stressors that can impact the employee as a result of the workplace. Research concerning the work-life balance has been important because productivity and motivation are often impacted if the employee spends too much time at work. The occupational health psychologist not only looks at the individual worker, but also looks at the organization as a whole. Industrial and organizational psychology began in the early 1900s. James Cattell formed the Psychological Corporation. This is when topics such as training, advertising, and how to choose an effective employee were evaluated. Industrial and organizational psychology expanded as psychological concepts started benefiting various businesses. When World War I took place, industrial and organizational psychology helped the military to become more productive and choose better candidates as soldiers. In the late 1920s and early 30s, Elton Mayo and his colleagues performed studies at the Western Electric Hawthorne Works within Chicago. They investigated interpersonal relationships, organizational issues, and employee motivation. They noted supervision styles and whether or not they increased or decreased productivity. The Hawthorne effect became known as the increase in performance by those that knew they were being watched doing the job. When changes were made to the business, like better lighting for workers, this increased productivity for a while, and then productivity began to fall or fade again. Researchers realized that workers' perceptions of their jobs were just as important as the environment that they were working in. A psychologist named Kurt Lewin studied what he called group dynamics and examined cooperation, competition, and communication between groups. When management emerged, Frederick Taylor wrote that a manager could be concerned with hiring, training, efficiency, and making the most money for the employer as they could. Industrial and organizational psychology expanded again in World War II, not only in the U.S., but in other nations. Writing job descriptions is not an easy task for most people. The first part of a job description is to list the tasks that will need to be performed. The frequency of the task, how difficult the work is, and the importance of the job are all factors that need to be included in that job description. If the job description includes a description of the requirements needed to successfully complete the job, this is known as job specification. Once potential workers have applied for the job, the company can choose potential candidates for the position. The manager or the psychologist can now evaluate the skills, knowledge, and other abilities a person has that could fit well within the position. Personality tests could be given to show whether the candidate would be a good match for that position. A majority of occupations require a candidate to interview before they're hired for that position. Interviews allow businesses to observe body language and social factors that could play a role for that job. There are two types of interviews that can be used. These are structured and unstructured interviews. During an unstructured interview, the questions are not set. This allows for flexibility with the questions that are being asked. The questions are not created before the interview. In a structured interview, every candidate is asked the same questions. These questions are prepared in advance. For structured questions, there's a rating system. This way, the candidates can truly be compared and contrasted. Structured interviews tend to be more effective at predicting future performance of job candidates. When workers are finally hired on with a company, they usually will begin a period of time where they learn the company's history, different policies of the organization, how time will be tracked, benefits of the job, and its requirements. This is a period of training where the employee learns the vision of the company as well as its values. Understanding the hierarchy of the company, how it's run on a day-to-day basis, and how decisions are made is important. Some companies may use mentorship with their employees. Mentors can be formal or informal. Those companies that utilize mentors have seen a higher likelihood of mentored employees to be promoted and their salaries to be increased. Performance evaluations are important because they tell the employee what they're doing well and what can be improved. Evaluations can also show whether or not training has been effective. Performance evaluations are not generally enjoyed by either the manager, supervisor, or the employees, but they can help to reiterate the goal of the company and its expectations. Employers cannot discriminate against job applicants or employees based upon race, religion, sex, national origin, age, genetic information, or color. Complaints can be issued to the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. The U.S. federal government also passed the Equal Pay Act, which means that when men and women are equally educated and perform the same work, they must be paid the same. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 made it illegal for any employer to act differently to any of its employees based upon race or the color of their skin. In the 1990s, the U.S. government passed the Americans with Disabilities Act. A disability is considered a physical or mental impairment that limits a major life activity. An employer has to make reasonable accommodations for an employee who has a disability. Recently, the ADA has included the conditions of alcoholism, former drug use, obesity, and psychiatric issues or problems to their list of disabilities. Job stress is considered the demands placed on an employee, which are so many that the employee feels they cannot meet them. Job stress can relate directly to job satisfaction. Humans often feel stress when they take on too many roles or when their job is not clear, when they don't feel like they're going anywhere in their position, and when they're assigned too much. Job stress can lead to poor health, poor performance, and problems with family life. If a company downsizes, this increases stress. Downsizing means that employees must be laid off because the business has not achieved profit goals. Industrial and organizational psychologists may help to deliver the news to employees that they are being laid off. They may also help discuss how the rest of the employees in the company will be further supported. Sometimes businesses may need to combine with other businesses. This could take place through a merger or an acquisition. When businesses merge, they are often two departments, and employees within those two departments have to be let go. With the addition of new employees, this can also cause stress on original employees that are already present and have to adjust to a new company with other new employees. There are two forms of leadership management styles that can be found in organizations within America. These are known as Theory X and Theory Y. Theory X is when managers believe that most of their employees do not like work and have to be directed. They assume their workers will be led and are told when to perform certain tasks. These workers will clock in to their workplace, and being late to work is not tolerated. If more workers are needed for later shifts, the manager will decide who can leave and who will stay. These types of managers often ignore suggestions from employees, and individual employees are blamed for any failures within the company. Threats and punishments are used, and rewards are rarely given. Managers do not trust employees, and employees do not trust managers. Theory Y contends that managers believe their workers want satisfaction and fulfillment through their work. Workers are encouraged to participate in changes within the company and can set personal and work goals. These workers are part of the decision-making process. The employees together decide what types of goals they want to accomplish. They discuss how they can be more efficient but still be safe. The workers are asked about management and what it is like to work for the company. Employees are free to share their own ideas. An organization's culture is defined as the business's vision, values, hierarchy, social norms, and interactions between its employees. Each company has observable artifacts, which are considered the language, narratives, symbols, and practices of the organization. The espoused values are the beliefs about the company that the employees endorse. Espoused values help employees to know what are the rules and how and when to act in different situations. The basic assumptions of a company are items that are unobservable and unquestioned and are not directly relayed or seen to those outside of the organization. Sometimes there are negative events that take place in a company. All right, well, we are at the end of this video about industrial and organizational psychology. If you have any questions, let me know. How do you think this type of psychology might be different from other types of psychology? Let me know in the comments section with that question. Otherwise, please click that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Keep working hard as I know you're doing, and I will talk with you soon.